Welcome to the Father Focus podcast.
Father Focus.
Check.
Why are we talking about this? Why does it matter?
So shaping your kids into powerful people.
Bro, let that brother fly.
Check.
All right, let's
You
go.
ready?
All right, let's go. I was messing.
Well, welcome back to the Father Focus podcast, man. You guys are amazing. Thank you guys for listening to our episode. Hope it's been a blessing to you. We have really enjoyed this. And we have heard, we've heard such cool stories already of some of the things and some of the ways it's impacted you guys. So thank you for your support. If you are new to the show, welcome. We're really glad you're hanging out with us today. Really, our goal is to level up as dads, to be the best version of ourselves for our families, for our kids, so that we leave a lasting legacy. So I'm excited. Unfortunately, Jeremy is not feeling good today, but I'm with my homie Jermaine. What's up, Jermaine?
What's up, Nate? What's going on?
It's good to see you.
Good to see you,
Got
man.
that
Glad to be
beanie
here.
on, looking good,
Yes, sir.
looking fly. Keeping that sexy for our wives, am I right?
That's right.
So, dude, I know we're going to jump into some serious stuff, but I went to I live in Detroit, so I went to the Pistons game. A very nice friend, shout out Mike if you listen to this episode, had season tickets and invited me to go to the game against the Grizzlies. So I got to see Ja Morant in action, and my gosh, dude, that guy is a freaking beast.
Is he really?
Beast. Oh, wow.
Is he? Did he live up to all the hype, or were you like?
Dude, you should have seen some of the moves. There must have been some trash talk that happened before the game from some of the Pistons players because the Pistons were down by 20 points pretty much the whole game. Like, we're going to the fourth quarter. They're up by 20. The starters played the whole fourth quarter, and Ja Morant probably dropped like 40 points. I remember at one point, there's probably like 3 or 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. There's no way they're going to lose this game. And somehow he gets a steal or outlet pass. He's fast break on his own on the other side. He does this 360 spin, puts the ball through his legs, and then does this layup where he like contorts his body 90 degrees. It was completely unnecessary, but literally all the Pistons fans in the room started cheering. That's how legit. Legit this move was. And he just embarrassed the Pistons. It was a bad game for us for sure. But yeah, dude, he kind of looks like MJ, honestly. Just the way he dunks and moves. And
they say he's AI 2.0. Somebody was saying they're comparing him
but
to
he's taller,
Iverson.
but he's taller.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it was pretty nasty. He was pretty solid. So if you get the chance to see him, man, you should.
Well, my worry is he going to be able to keep that up? Like, like D Rose kind of had that attack, aggressive.
Right.
And every time I see him drive, I'm like, what do you think about that when you were watching him? Is he pretty physical, pretty aggressive?
I mean, he's so athletic and quick that it's like by the time he makes his drive into the lane, it's like they can't react fast enough. So yeah, for sure. I mean, some guy could take out his knees and injure him or whatever. And hopefully that's not the case because he's really fun to watch. But I think that's potential. But man, it's his step quick. And honestly, he can shoot. So I feel like with D Rose, not that he wasn't a good shooter, but I feel like Ja's a really good shooter. So he doesn't necessarily have to rely on that completely. It's just really fun. Have you been watching any NBA games?
Yeah, I watch a little bit. I mean, the Splash Brothers. Well, now Steph's hurt. So, I mean, you got different things going on in the league. I mean, a little bit. It's been interesting. So I just don't know. There's all this debate about who the best player is currently.
There's no debate.
Currently.
Yeah.
Currently.
Yeah.
Is it Steph? Is it Ja?
Yeah.
Who is it? Is it the Greek Freak?
I think you got to put Luka in that conversation.
Right?
Yeah.
But they're all so different, right? So
I think you got to. Yeah, I think you got to give it up to Steph right now. I mean, what Golden State's been able to do over the last few years, I think he could arguably be the best player for the last 5 years. If you look at anyone in the NBA over that stretch, him and LeBron over the last 10 years, I mean, both those guys have been so dominant. Obviously, they got the rings to prove it. So it definitely is a fun conversation. It's just crazy. The NBA is really fun to watch right now. But anyway, that's not what we came on this podcast to talk about. As fun as that is. So if we bored you for the last 3 minutes, we're so sorry. We'll move on to serious, real stuff now. What we want to talk about today is this idea of becoming a minimalistic family. And, probably for what did you say, like the last 15 years, 10 years or so, you've heard all these ideas about like tiny house and people living a minimalistic life. And some of the stuff's actually pretty interesting. How people have kind of like decluttered their life from a lot of the things that I think like advertising and the American dream tell us we need to be happy. And they're basically saying, no, actually you don't. To be honest, I'm way too high maintenance to go live out in the woods in some tiny home. It would be terrible for me and especially my family. But I like the idea. I like the idea. You know what I mean?
You like the theory. You like it in theory.
Hypothetically,
Not in
I like the idea.
Not in practice.
But I thought it'd be cool to talk about what does it mean to be a minimalistic family, and kind of this idea of how do we get the junk that's cluttering our family from actually becoming who we want to be, who we desire to be, right? Because there's so many things competing for our time, attention, energy. And so I think it's just evaluating, and that's what we're going to kind of talk about today. What are potentially the things, the junk in your family that are cluttering out or pushing out the things that you want to keep there, or they're covered up by all the mess and the busyness and the noise. And so that's what we're going to kind of talk about today. I read some stats that I wanted to share that I thought were really interesting before we jump in to the conversation. There was an article I read. It was basically titled, "Parents Are Too Busy to Spend Time with Their Kids." That was the title of the article. And so they like polled parents. So listen to some of these. It says more than half of the parents admitted they were too busy to enjoy the fun of parenting, according to a survey. 2,000 so they polled 2,000 parents. 55%, so that's more than half, believe that currently they're missing out on the fun of parenting due to other obligations. So I want you to think about that for a second. When we if you just ask parents in a vacuum, what are your highest priorities? Your kids are typically at the top of the list, right? They're at least number 2, number 3, right? But 55% say they're missing out on the joy of parenting because of other obligations that aren't as important to them. 78% wish they had more time to spend with their kids. And then 82% of parents polled have had their child, the kid, complain about not spending enough quality time with their parents. So 82% of parents believe and have heard from their kids, you don't spend enough time with me. And 78% have had their child express feelings that the parent isn't fully engaged when they're supposed to be spending time together, probably on their phone and doing other things. And this was staggering. 26%, so more than 1/4, of the kids feel that way all the time, feel all the time their parents are too busy or too distracted and don't really connect or spend time with them. It is a problem, right? It's a problem.
Yeah.
So where do we start in this conversation, Jermaine?
Wow, those are some staggering statistics. I mean, I think you look around, at other parents. It seems like not only are the parents are busy, it seems like the kids are busy.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
I mean, kids have more activities today than they've ever had. They
Right.
have more access to things than they've ever had.
Yep.
Social media, internet, gadgets, and then they also, when I was a kid, we had seasons, and
Back
pretty
with the
much
stone tablets.
whatever.
Before electricity, when I was a
You're
kid.
not that much. You're not that much younger than me. But today you have things kind of go on, like the basketball season doesn't really end. There's really no
Right.
end to it with travel league and whatnot. So you not only do you have busy parents, but you have busy kids. And so who gives up what in that
Right.
relationship?
Right.
Who's the mature one that's going to say, I'm going to stop doing this so that we can do that? If we leave that to kids, it's not going to happen. Kids
Right.
will put too much on their plate. You know what I mean? They'll do too much of anything. And so to your question, I think not only are parents busy, but kids are busy. I mean, a lot of you look around at parents and you think a lot of the times we're just Uber drivers. We're just driving your kid from event to event to event.
Dang.
And I know I have friends of mine that have, more than one kid. So if you have 2, 3, 4 kids going to one event, that's
Right.
a lot during a week, one practice each or 2 practices. Throw in 2 or 3 different sporting events and practice on top of that, then we're a hot mess. And so I think, and then for me being a Christian, it seems like the first thing that people drop when they get busy is church. And so that's alarming for me
Talk to him.
because
Talk to him,
because
Jermaine.
because it used to
Right.
be back in the day. Anyway, Sunday was kind of sacred. There was
Right.
no practices or games on Sunday, but now that's not the case anymore.
Yeah. No, I
So
mean, we've had conversation about this before because we
yeah,
were both youth pastors. We actually youth pastored together for a few years. And I think is crazy, like even seeing over the last, I would say, like 10 years or so, how much busier kids are because of all the expectations placed on
right,
them. And I remember we would have conversations with parents that would tell us things like, yeah, my kid really can't come to church because they have this, this, and this. They would
right,
seem kind of disappointed about it, but then they would never be vocal. They would never
right,
say
right.
anything to the coach or the teacher. They would never push back. They would kind of just accept, well, this is just the way things are. I'm going to allow someone else to dictate my priorities. I remember me and you would just bang our heads against the wall because a lot of
Right.
times what happened is these kids are really growing spiritually. And then unfortunately, because the parents didn't discern all these other things that were piling on top of that spiritual growth God was trying to do, it actually killed the fruit God was trying to produce in their life. And it was like frustrating for us because we're so sad for those
Absolutely.
kids and those parents. And many times those parents would come back to us later and complain and, share regret about where their kids are spiritually now, kind of walking away from God. And not like we want to be, I told you so, but kind of in a sense, it's like, well, maybe if you would have thought about
Right.
this through the process a little bit more. And that's kind of why we're having this conversation is like, for many of us that have younger kids, we can actually be proactive and plan ahead, right? Like we can look at it
Yeah.
because the world is busy and everyone keeps saying they're busy. And then the pandemic comes and everyone's life shuts down. They're saying, I'm going to make some changes. And here we are 2 years later and everyone's
We're
back
back
to
in it,
life as normal.
running.
And it's the opposite of that minimalistic family where the most important things take priority, and we need to get that back. I thought it was interesting, kind of additional thing to add in there. Obviously, we've talked about this before. Technoference, we talked about in another episode about how much technology has interfered with our life. But we were talking prepping for this episode and just kind of looking at phones, right? Because in that article I read about parents being too busy, one of the biggest issues was their phone. The phone was always getting in the way. The kids felt like the parents, instead of spending time with their kids, were checking their phone every 5 minutes because social media or whatever it is. And so you can do this little thing. It's very convicting. We did it on our planning call, remember?
Yeah. Oh
You
yeah.
go into your phone and you look at your screen usage and it shows you some crazy details. I would actually tell you guys, it's actually pretty interesting for you
Challenge
to
you.
do. How many times you pick up your phone, how many times you look at your phone, how much time you spend on certain apps. And I looked at it, I was like, my gosh, like I have a problem. I need to change some things in my family. And kind of the reason that we had this conversation was because Christina had opened up to me that recently the girls had mentioned to her that it felt like when I was spending time with the girls, I was distracted by my phone. It was so
Mm,
subconscious. I
wow.
didn't even realize it
Right.
because we'd watch some kids show that I don't like kids shows. I'm not one of those dads that's like, oh, I can't wait to go see this new cartoon movie. I hate those things or I'll
Hmm.
fall asleep like literally every time. So like I was like, they're fine. We're sitting next to each other. I'm on my phone, but my daughter's quality time. So she felt robbed from me
Hmm.
because instead of spending time with her, focus on something together with her, I said, my phone's more important. And so
Right.
actually one of the things I did at that conversation, which I think you or Jeremy told me, is I've been lately when I get home from work, I'll put my phone in the other room and I won't pick it up until the girls go to sleep. Because I want them to know they're the priority. I want to get the junk that doesn't really matter out of our family life. And I'll just share one more thing and then we can move on. I thought it was really
Absolutely.
interesting. A friend of mine, we interviewed him. He'll be on a upcoming episode, Seth Dahl. He shared a story of a kid who was kind of venting to him about his parents and how much they spent their time on their phones. And the kid made this comment. He said, I wish my parents would hold me and look at me the way they hold it and look at their phone. And it it put like
Man.
everything into perspective. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like, what are we
yeah.
communicating when we prioritize over other things, over giving our kids the attention that they need? I think that's one of the things we need to easily get out of our lives. I don't know if you have anything else to add to that, but
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, if the average person spends, let's say, I don't know what your numbers were, I don't remember, but let's say
I don't
they
want to
spend
talk about that.
okay. Let's say 10 hours. It's probably way more than that. right? 10
No,
hours
it
a
was
week.
like 8.5.
I'm saying the average person,
Yeah,
not
yeah, okay.
saying you, but I'm saying we'll say 8. It's probably more than that because you're even more conscious than most
Right,
people. I
right,
would imagine. So let's say it's 10 to 12 hours a week. What could you do with that 10 to 12 hours?
right.
10 to 12 hours of time, right, per week that is being given to our
Yep,
phones. And
yep.
I think if we're not conscious, if we're not consciously taking into account how much time we're spending, like you said, we're robbing and we're teaching our kids something. And I've seen it. I've been to restaurants. I've seen
Yep.
groups of people sitting together, families, and they're all on an electronic. I've seen young people sitting together at a fast food restaurant, and they're all on their phone. They're
Yeah.
eating, but they're all on their phone doing things. They're together individually, collectively not together.
Right. And what's the point of going to the restaurant?
Right, right. Who's talking? No one's talking to each other. And then they just get up and they leave. And I'm thinking that's what that we consider time in this
Yeah.
economy now.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a problem.
So everyone probably knows this, right? I don't think anyone listening to this episode's like, this is such a shock to me. I didn't know this things are interruptions in my life. I didn't know I'm so busy. Like everyone's that's listening to us is like, well, duh, this is the way life is. But why do you think we justify it? I think that's the thing, right? Like I think a lot of us hear this and think, well, yeah, that's just the way life is. This is just the way it has to be. Why do you think people justify it?
Well, I think some kid, here's the questions. I mean, you got to ask yourself, are we finding our own self-worth or value, through our kids? Like, are we living vicariously through them? Because, I don't know one parent that doesn't want their kids to have what they didn't have. We
Yeah,
always say,
right.
I want it better for my kids.
Yeah.
I want them to have what I didn't have, the experiences that I didn't have. And I think we mean well, but I think it gets blown way out of control. And I think what's happened is are we living through our kids vicariously? Like, do our kids really need fill in the blank? And I think sometimes we're giving them too much. Like they're over, when we have babies, when our kids were younger, we knew when they were overstimulated. You could tell like she's overstimulated, he's overstimulated. I think today we have a generation of overstimulation and we don't even know how to have regular conversations, how to interact with each other. I think it's the anxiety and the things we're seeing is due to overstimulation. There's too much. They're too crowded. There's no margin. And I think some parents, if they're not careful, they're living vicariously. The culture's applauding them. Their peers are applauding them, but on the inside, their kid's dying. Their relationship with their child is dying. And so I think, to your question, is it that we're living vicariously through our kids, right? To say no to something, it's say yes to something else. And I think we're so afraid of saying no. It's like that Jim Carrey movie, Yes Man, yes to everything. We're so afraid of saying no. We want to be a part of everything that nothing's sacred anymore. Nothing is special anymore. So
It kind of reminds me of, obviously we're not going to say who, but there was a kid in our youth ministry who did everything. I mean, student council, he played basketball, he played baseball, he played football, he did track. He also wanted to do everything at church, And I remember one time,
Wrestling.
I think he had come, maybe wrestling too. I don't know. He was on the Glee Club. I don't know. I mean, it felt like he did everything, truthfully.
He was in choir. He was
Yeah. And I remember at one point, I think he had come to one of us and kind of vented about like how tired he was and wanted to get some stuff off his plate. And honestly, I think he felt like God was kind of telling him to like cut some things off so that he could prioritize his relationship with Jesus. And we talked to his parent about it. Do you remember what their response was?
Yeah, I remember this person said, I want him to be a part of everything. I feel like I didn't have a lot of opportunities when I was his age, or I did a few things, but I want him to be a part of everything. And I feel like he should be able to be a part of everything.
Yeah.
And we were just like, that's impossible. Like, how can he be a part of everything?
We told her that, right?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. And then what was her response?
Her response was, I disagree.
Yeah.
I feel like, they should be a part of. And so I think the parent meant well, but in their mind, I think subconsciously, they went immediately to their own upbringing.
Yeah.
And their regrets
Right.
and
Right. And then I can contrast that with another story of a kid in our youth ministry who was very, very committed to a certain sport. I mean, spent lots of money, lots of time, year round, practicing hours a day. And he realized he realized personally that God was really calling him to a deeper connection with Jesus. And he felt like that sport was getting in the way. And so he quit. And guess what? His parents supported him in that decision.
Right.
And we saw that guy's relationship with God completely skyrocket. I mean, he was a different kid, and they were getting all this pressure from the coach, and he was very upset and bad mouthing me and you as we were like brainwashing these kids and all this stuff. But
Right.
but I think we need to be the kind of parents. I think the point we're trying to make is we need to be the kind of parents that discern what's going on with our kids and think about long-term impact of decisions. One of the
Right.
most common things I heard as a youth pastor, probably in the last few years I was a youth pastor, when I asked kids how they were doing and how they were feeling, they said two things: I feel busy and I feel tired. But then we
Yeah.
continue to justify some of these things. And I think that's one of the things as parents, we got to evaluate, like, are we pushing our kids to a place of no return? Are we
Right.
allowing the world around them to prioritize things that actually in the long run are going to push them away from the values that are most important? I know for me and
Yeah.
you, more than anything else, we want our kids to know and love God. It's the most important thing. It's the first commandment, right? It's the
Right.
most important thing God's ever
Yep.
called us to do, is to love him with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. And if anything, I hopefully I can say this as a parent, if anything I feel like is violating that
Mm-hmm.
commandment in my kid's heart, I'm going to be very quick as a dad to draw a line and pull them out of things and have honest conversations, because most kids are not going to the NBA. They're not going to get a scholarship.
Come
Even
on.
even if, like, we got to be realistic. And I did some studies once because, every kid that I talked to as a youth pastor was going to the NBA or the NFL, and I never
Mm-hmm.
had the heart to tell them to their face, because I want to
Me
be
neither.
I want to be a supporter, and I want people to go after their dreams. But I was looking ahead, bro. You are 5'2". You can
Right.
barely dribble. Your shot is so jacked up. You ain't even making it to
Yeah.
D3 school, college.
Yeah. Not
Like,
happening.
you know,
Not happening.
but do we allow our kids to pursue things that ultimately push them away from their ultimate purpose? And I think the answer is no.
Absolutely not.
But
And
I
we
think
can't be afraid of. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, go.
We can't. And I think some people are afraid of their kids being bored. And so
Right.
it's like we're so, and the kids are afraid of being bored. Like we're bored. Like boredom. Okay, so what do you need to do? Like figure it
Right.
out. Like get creative. And I think to your point, Nathan, as you're saying, and I'm thinking back to these stories you were reminiscing about. This kid was a star on his team.
Yeah.
This wasn't just some scrub that, he was a star in what he did. And he didn't just right up and quit. He took some time
Yep.
and he tried to work with his coach. He
Yep.
talked to him about practices on Sundays during youth events or during church. He talked to his coach, he talked with him, and it didn't work. And the coach began to go after him.
Right.
And so rather than him folding and coddling and going along with the coach, he decided to stand, and his parents stood behind him.
Yeah, which was
And
awesome.
which was awesome. Parents,
Yeah.
listen to me. Listen to us. If let your child follow the voice of God. You want them to love Jesus, and they're trying to. They need our support.
Yeah.
Even if it costs them not starting, even if it costs them riding the bench for that game.
Yeah.
In the long run, a game is a game, and their soul is eternal. And so, parents, we need to support our young people, our children, as they're trying to make decisions when they're seeking first the kingdom.
Yep.
And so I think that was huge that his parents got behind him.
Yeah, it was incredible. It's probably one of our victory stories as youth pastors we have, because unfortunately that's not normally the case. Usually parents will side with the school, they'll side with the sports team, the extracurricular activity, and usually church gets the leftovers, if anything. And then we look at their kids a few years later and they want nothing to do with Jesus. And it's tragic. And man, I don't want that for my kids. I know you don't either.
No.
Here's the thing we're not saying. I think it's important that people don't hear. We're not trying to say you need to sit at home all day and not do anything. We're not
Right.
trying to cut everything out of your lives. That's not even our point. I think every parent, every good dad needs to plan with the end in mind and have vision for where he's taking his kids. And that makes the no's easier and the yeses easier. And if you
Yes.
don't have that, then you're either going to allow someone else to define your yes, or you're going to say no to everything, and your kids are going to want to leave and run away because it's like you never give them permission to do anything. So there's got to be a happy balance. But I think the point is,
Absolutely.
how do we build a minimalistic family in the sense that the most important things have priority, and the things that are clutter and are getting in the way are removed so the most important things can thrive and grow and
Yeah.
last, right? So what are we
Mhm.
pointing people towards? Like, what is the vision? What is the goal that we're going after? What are we trying to, a parent right now that's in the middle of this conflict of this conversation's really hitting them, right? And they're realizing, man, my family has all this junk in the middle, but I don't know where to start. And if we let all these things go, what's it going to look like? What do you think we're pointing people towards?
Yeah, I mean, we hopefully we're being parents that our kids would want to. We're models that our kids would want to be like. I mean,
Yeah.
I think about when my kids get older and their parents, right? Are they going to have what memories will they have? Are they going to have memories of their parents taking time, helping them navigate
Yeah.
decisions, spending time together, right? Creating a passion for parenting for kids. A lot of people today, some parents don't want to be parents. They wish they weren't parents. They
Yeah.
don't have vision, as you said, Nathan. They don't have a focus. And so I think I pray that I am being a parent and a father, that my kids will have a passion for parenting one day, that they will say, man, one day when I'm a parent, I
Yeah.
can't wait to do this with my child.
Mm.
I can't wait to have this conversation, rather than, oh no, here comes this conversation with the birds or the bees. Oh no, here comes this. You know what I mean? We're kind of, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
looking
Yeah.
forward to, man, I look forward to being a mom that I can have this conversation with my kids.
Yeah.
So I think I'm parenting forward, parenting in that way. I pray that I am, that creates a passion in my kids to one day have a godly marriage and to be godly parents.
So, kind of what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that you want your kids to see the way you parent and the experiences that you have as their family are so valuable to them that they want to recreate those with their kids one day. Is that kind of what you're saying?
No, you're wrong. Oh no, I'm joking. You're right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just joking. Seriously, yeah, to reproduce that, right? To
Yeah.
reproduce. Inheritances
Right.
aren't just in money and in things.
Right.
Inheritances are in
Right.
culture that we create, are in
Yep.
character that we're building. And so we got
Yeah.
to think about not just monetary inheritances, but generational
Mm.
inheritances.
Yeah. No, that's good, man. I love that. I think the idea is that we are building into, kind of the example I've seen people use for is like the bucket, like you're
Mhm.
filling the bucket, you're taking from the bucket. And when your kids think about your family, what things do they think? And hopefully they walk away with, our
Mhm.
family's connected, we love each other, we want to be around each other. I've seen some
Right.
families, and me and Christina have talked about this quite a bit. Their kids are in their 20s. They come home all the time. They hang out with their parents on the
Mhm.
weekends. Like we
Right.
talked about it. We want that kind of family. And when I talk to those parents, I'm like, what's your secret? And they're like, we don't really have one, but there's a few things that they always say. I prioritize a relationship with my kid. I spent a lot of time with them. We wanted to be together. We made things fun. What does that all communicate? We prioritized our connection as a family over everything else. And so I think like one of the things we're pointing you towards is building memories with your kids
Yes.
that leaves a generational impact on your kids, your grandkids, your great grandkids. Hopefully this is cyclical and it keeps growing. I think that's a beautiful vision for your
Yeah.
family. I think another thing I could add to that, as far as something that we could point towards, is looking for what are the opportunities you have as a parent to build value into your kids. If your kids
Yeah.
are always gone, if they're always with someone else besides you, because truthfully, if they're on a sports team or they're doing extracurricular activity, it's a pretty big time commitment. So they're with their coach or that teacher, or they're with their friends a lot. And it's like those people are influencing them, but there are things of value you have as a parent that you want to give your kids. Every dad I know is passionate about a few things. For me,
Right.
I love sports. And so I've been sitting down with the girls and teaching them football. For you, you love manicures and pedicures and you love
You know
talking
me,
about
man.
facials.
That's right. Facials.
I,
So bad.
I look for
Mm,
opportunities to mess with you. Jermaine,
mhm,
yeah, I mean, Jermaine, obviously you're into nutrition and bodybuilding, and we both love God, we love His Word, we love to read. Like those are things I want to pass on to my kids. I want
mhm.
them to care about things I care about because those things have deeply impacted me. I enjoy those things. You're not going to do that if your kids are never around.
Right.
if your kids don't
Right.
want to be with you. Like
Mhm.
your kids, when you get older, what are you going to have with your kids? You're going to have a relationship with them. And if you have no common ground, nothing that you share, it's going to be pretty hard to have a relationship. So what an opportunity it is right now to
Right.
pass on your values and the things
Yes.
that you love to your kids so you can share those and enjoy those together in life. I think that's a really cool idea too.
Yeah, that's good.
You have anything to add?
Yeah. No, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, you know, we're investing into something that's, we in the future, we're investing into them for this relationship that you spoke of. And I think so few, so few parents, sometimes we don't realize that, oh, I lost my kid, or like my kid has changed. We're not connecting. Well, it didn't happen overnight,
Right.
right? It didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen in a vacuum. It happened through days and hours and time. And so in the same way, like Nathan, like you're saying, I just want to encourage you, if you're out there, it's not too late. Like take the
Yeah.
time to spend time with your kid. With your daughter, you said it earlier, she just wanted you to enjoy something that she was enjoying.
Yep.
It's just simple as enjoying what they enjoy, even if it's dumb, even if it's silly, even if you're like, oh Lord, help me.
I have to
If I
watch this
watch
episode of Bluey one more
Bluey,
time.
come on. Oh Lord. Oh. And they start talking with British accents. I'm like, oh Lord, help us. Yeah. Or Australian accents. Yeah.
It's not great. It's not great.
Bluey.
All right. Well, let me ask you this. Last question, then we'll wrap up here.
Sure.
If there was only a few things that your family could have, values, experiences, memories, priorities, what are those things for you? Like to give people an example of what it looks like. What do you think they are?
Like you saying
If your family could be
core
defined with a
values.
few things, or even just when your kids 20 years from now say, man, someone asks them, what was my family like? What was my life like when I lived with my parents? What do you want them to say?
Yeah, I want them to be able to say like, you spoke it earlier. We spent a lot of time. My dad spent a lot of time together with me. I want them to be able to say that. Time is huge. I want to have them to be able to say like, we had great conversations. Like there was nothing that I was never fearful to come to my dad about anything.
That's good. Yeah.
There's nothing off the record. When I failed, he never pushed me away. You know what I mean? Like it was avail myself in such a way that we can have conversations about anything. I tell my kids all the time, you can be angry. I'm angry. I'm like, don't be mad because you're angry, right? Don't be mad at yourself for being angry. You have every right to be angry. You can be angry and not sin, right? And so I tell them, you can be angry. How do you feel, right? What do you think? It doesn't matter. No, it matters to me what you think and what you feel. So I'll slow down the conflict to just get to know, what are you feeling?
Yeah.
Verbalize what you're feeling. I want to know how you feel because how you feel matters to me. I'm not just trying to fix you or get past this issue. You are my child and I love you. And so how do you feel? Let's learn to voice that. And so I'm helping my kids. Hopefully they'll be able to say when they're older, like for their kids, like my dad always gave me a voice. I never had to fight for it. I never had to question it. I always had a voice, even when I was wrong, even when I was angry, even when I was disrespectful. He always gave me a voice. He was always patient with me, and he always worked with me through it. He always walked with me through it. He didn't walk away from me. He walked with me.
Yeah. That's awesome. So time with you. You want them to
Yes.
feel like, man, I had as much time with my parents, my family as I
I wanted.
wanted. They cared about me as a person, how I felt. They valued my voice. They listened to me.
Man.
And then we had fun together, right? I think those are
Oh,
a few
yeah.
things you're saying.
Yeah.
I think those are, I mean, if you want to know where to start, I think that's an amazing place to start, as those being primary values. And I think the point we're trying to make is that if you want those things, you're not going to be able to do it all, right? There's
No.
going to have to be some things that get cut, some things that get removed, and they might be a little painful. But in the long run, your family will be healthier if you get more intentionally minimalistic and you put the most important things at the top of the list. There's only so much room. I think that's the point we're trying to make. There's only so much room in your life for only a few things. Put the most important things first. I'll kind of close with this thought, and then we can get out of here. You know, I by nature am a driver. I like getting things done. I like being busy. I like moving. You know this. You work with me for a while.
Oh, what are you talking
And-
about?
Shocker, right? And really, what I realized it was doing, it was actually detrimental to relationships that I cared about, because I would try to hurry through people. I would try to hurry through conversations. I was like, I wanted to touch base with people, but I didn't actually want to stick around long enough to hear anything. I just wanted them to know that I stopped in and talked to them. And really, I felt like God spoke to me and shared something with me. And he said, busyness kills connection. Love slows down. Busyness kills connection. Love slows down. And I remember him telling me it's okay to linger in a conversation when it gets awkward. It's okay to sit there and maybe you don't have anything to say in the moment. It's okay to prioritize a relationship over tasks. And I want to speak that to you guys as families to think about this. Busyness kills connection. It's okay to slow down. And really, love is patient. Love is slow, right?
Yeah.
And that's what your kids need to feel, is that they're worth waiting for. They're worth
Yeah.
time, taking off. And I'm speaking to myself right now, taking off that overproductive, super accomplisher hat and just being with your family, being with your kids.
Come on.
I
So
think
good.
that's going to be a game changer. If you can just embrace that mentality, if you can get busyness out of your family,
Absolutely.
as when people say, "How are you doing?" you stop saying, "I'm busy."
Yeah.
Man, and you actually live
Not
it.
a badge of honor.
Right. It's not. It's not.
Sometimes the greatest accomplishment is to accomplish nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, just being with your
know.
kids, playing a dumb game, like being creative and just inventing games and doing things. Sometimes the most, again, the most productive thing is to not produce and not to do anything. It's just being with them.
Wouldn't you
And
say a
that's
lot of creativity comes out of boredom?
absolutely.
Yeah.
We've made dumb, silly
Right.
games. I mean, absolutely. And it forces us to come together to create something. Like if something's always being created for them and filling up space, they never have to become creative. They never have to come together. My kids coming together. I know your twins do it, and they come up with this game or this thing that they're
Yeah.
doing, and they're having a blast.
Yeah.
But boredom allowed that to happen, and them having time allowed them to be able to do that they would not have done if they had a gadget in their hand, if they had some planned package thing. It wouldn't have happened at all.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So here's what we're saying, kind of wrap up. Get the junk out.
Get it out.
Shut the door on
Shut the door.
things that are cluttering up, mucking up, hurting your family. I just a few things I thought maybe add to the list. Get the emotional junk out of your family. Get the passive aggressiveness out of your family. Get the bitterness out of your family. Get the impatience out of your family. Get the isolation out of your family. Those are unhealthy things. If those are in your family, get them out. Some of the spiritual junk, sin, right? Get the sin out of your family. Get the unforgiveness out of your family.
Regret.
I mean, there's just things that like we allow into our family that aren't just the practicals. They're the emotional and the spiritual things that hurt our family. Can you think of anything else?
Man, you said the regret. Get the regret out. The shame,
Yeah.
right? Like some parents parent out of shame. So we don't deal with certain things because we're ashamed. Because how could I talk about my kid with that when I was worse? I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like, get the shame out, get the guilt out, get the the judgment, get all those things out, get those things out. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that your house can be a house filled with joy, connection,
Yes.
lasting memories with your kids. I mean, that's a beautiful picture of a minimalistic family. So we'll leave you with that. I hope this inspires you as a parent. Cut it out, man. Shut the door. Put the most important things first.
Yes.
Go be awesome. Go be awesome for your family.
You can do it.
Yeah, you can. Well, we appreciate you guys, man. We love that you hang out with us. We hope this podcast helps you. Hey, we're going to ask you to do a few things. If you haven't already, hit that plus button, subscribe, and follow. It's a little bit different on Spotify than iTunes, but we would love for you to automatically download those episodes. That helps us. Reviews. Man, if you could give us a review on either platform, hopefully 5 stars, but if you don't feel like that way, be honest. It's okay. But reviews help us. We love your feedback. You can reach out to us and give us topics and ideas. Follow us on Instagram or TikTok. We're on those under the Father Focus. And lastly, if this podcast has helped you and you know another dad or family that needs support and encouragement, would you share this with them? We really would love your help getting the word out. And we just want to help dads out there level up and be the best version of themselves. So we appreciate you guys hanging out with us today. Hope you have a great week. Jermaine, you got any last words?
No, thank you guys for being with us. Like Nate said, we are humbled to be here with you guys. Please,
Yes.
again, share it, like it. We're hearing stories and feedback from people that their
that's
lives
cool.
are being impacted already. And so that's one of the greatest testaments that we can get, is people are saying, this thing is changing my life. And
Absolutely.
so, yeah,
Yeah. Appreciate you guys. Have a great week.
appreciate you guys.
Peace out.